Show, the Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. They do free estimates. They have military and veteran discounts. CC Electric. It is our lunch hour on a Friday. Lunchtime thank you to Rudy's Barbecue. No Bryce Jones. I've said it, but maybe you just tuned in. Maybe you're like, Lou, I hate you. I can't stand you, but I love Bryce. I only tune in from noon to 1 each and every Friday, but only on Friday because I love Bryce and hate you. That's fine. I don't care why you tune in. Just hang out. That's cool with me. Bryce won't be here. Sorry, click. Everybody left. What can I do? Bryce, under the weather. He'll be back next Friday. So here is what we are doing. People are texting. It's a glorious day inside the Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox. Why are people texting like crazy? Because they want a Moody Gardens Family 4-pack. Got like 5 of them, and I'm going to give them all away today. Why? Because they just showed up on my desk. That's the honest truth. Why? I don't ask questions. Maybe someone forgot they put them there, but I'm giving them away. At 1 o'clock, we're just going to start blind drawing out of the Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox. If you text, you're registered. Participation on the Louie Bellina Show will always be rewarded. The ticket booth is open thanks to Dixie Tire Company. Dixie Tire Company open Monday through Friday till 6, Saturday till 1. And you can always call them at 775-TIRE. Dixie Tire Company. They fix flats, but tires, car, truck, tractor, trailer, lawnmower, even a wheelbarrow, tires. You need tires. You need to look up Dixie Tire Company. Life is simple that way. Also, here in our final hour, the things we are going to do, I got this awesome listen-in. It's Greg McElroy. Dude loves ball. Dude breaks down ball. Top 10 wide receivers for the 2026 college football season. But I did want to kick things off going to the text message sweep, the Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox. Patrick in College Station said, I think if you don't make the field of 64, it should not be considered a good season. I think schools and fans will see it that way as well. In the first hour, we talked about the expansion of the March Madness, the NCAA tournament to 76. The first 4 is now officially called the opening round. And instead of 4 games, it's 12 games. There'll be 2 sites, Dayton plus an East Coast site, and they'll each have 3 games a day. And just in and of itself, I don't care about that. I never cared about the first 4. Why will I care about the opening round? It didn't affect my life that they had a first 4. Why should the opening round? The thing that I do care about from the fan perspective, college basketball was always simple. You made the NCAA tournament, you had a good year, and there was no addendums, amendments, qualifiers for that basic statement for me as a fan. If you made it good year, if you didn't, bad year. Sure, if you're picked to go 0-31 and you went 14-17 and just missed it, you could go not bad, but it was still a bad year. Just not bad versus projection, but it was bad. And if you made the tournament, check mark. I thought college basketball was very simple. Well, now, in a 76 field, Duke can go 15-17 and they'll be in the field every year. Teams with losing conference records will be in the field every year. Teams with a losing overall record will be in the field every year. I as a fan, I don't like, it doesn't compute. My brain hurts. I don't agree with that concept, saying it out loud. The definition of good, and that's what Patrick in College Station. If you don't make the field, so he's saying if you play Tuesday, Wednesday, that shouldn't be considered good until you win Tuesday, Wednesday, because winning in the opening round, the Tuesday, Wednesday, then gets you into the field of 64. And he says, I think schools and fans will see it that way as well. I don't want to say yes. I don't want to say no. That will play itself out. Possible, yes. Possible, yes. That's the, I know, man, I'm supposed to give you some definitive answer and pound the counter here, but it's going to play itself out. What do I think will happen? If you're a mid-major and below and you make the opening round, you're going to take it. Everything NCAA is exclusionary to that level, and you're going to be seeded to play in those anyway. So that's going to be the sliding scale of who you are. If you're a blue blood and you're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah. They won't consider that a good season. You're anything below blue blood P4, you're going to raise a banner saying you made the NCAA tournament in that year, even if it's the opening round. For fans, if you're at a football school, unless you actually win something, I don't know if anyone remembers you'll be in that anyway. And even the tournament without waiting like at least to the second weekend. So sliding scale type stuff. More text messages. Grant in College Station. Lou, that's me. Oh, this is so long. I don't understand why you play the midweek versus Prairie View A&M when you know going in the impact matchup on your RPI. You talked about it this week. I don't see why you would play that game with the anticipation of where we're trying to seed in the end. A&M baseball head coach McElroy was asked about it on Thursday. And he gave the simplest answer. He said the committee knows. The committee will take it into account. If you're doing the duck, dodge, and weave late in the year on midweeks because of RPI, that's what he answered it. I don't have to give an answer. He did. He said the committee knows and the committee takes it into account if you cancel games for RPI. So that is the answer. Dale and Tabor. I wanted a 96-team basketball playoff. This is satire. 33-96 play the opening round. Winners are seeded in the 64 team. Losers receive an automatic invitation to the NIT. The one thing I take away from that entire paragraph, it would be interesting if losers receive an automatic invitation to the NIT from an opening round. The NIT field, we're having teams just say no. I think the 76 will further incentivize teams to just say no. Because if you can't get into the 76, and remember something, there's a lot of reasons why teams are saying no to the NIT. If you're a blue blood, it's insulting. Other teams that had great and you're a mid-major and you got excluded because the NCAA doesn't believe in the mid-major concept. Well, your coach is being hired by someone because you were so good, but you got screwed, right? Well, we have no coach and he took 5 players with him. No, we're not taking an NIT bid. So to help the NIT get filled, and if I'm not mistaken, in the modern NIT, it's run by the NCAA. It's another tournament by them where the NIT used to be independent. So losers of the opening round, 12 games, 12 teams, auto into the NIT so that those teams going into the opening round are guaranteed 2 games that week and not 1 minimum. If they win, there'd be more in the NIT even, right? I don't know if that'd be the worst thing. I kind of play into that concept. 979-693-1150. Light up the Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox. Texas Mobile and Lube Express, owned by Gabriel Garcia. Speaking of expansion, College Football 24 playoff. College Football 24 playoff. Yeah, you've heard about this College Football 24 playoff, right? This was fun. Just an exercise, really. What if we would have had the 2014 playoff for last season, in which A&M was a participant in the college football playoff last season? Well, it would have played out like this. A&M as the 7th seed would have had an opening round bye. They would not have played Miami in the opening round. And here's what the first round actually would have looked like. This is just fun, man. This is a conversation. The opening round buys, you still would have those top 8 seeds, nothing different. Indiana 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Texas Tech 4. Oregon was the 5, Ole Miss the 6. There's A&M at 7, OU was 8. Here's what the first round would have been. So 9 Miami, 9 Alabama, 10 Miami, 11 Notre Dame, 12 BYU. Those were all facts. Here's where the fun kicks in. Texas the 13, Vandy 14. So the first 2 teams in the expanded would have been SEC, but they would have been the only 2. First 2, only 2. 15 Utah, 16 USC, 17 Arizona, 18 Michigan, 19 Virginia, 20 Tulane, 21 Houston, 22 G-Tech, 23 was Iowa, and 24 was James Madison. Question. Okay. I said as it was. Notre Dame and didn't get in, neither did BYU. So that was different. Yeah, I had to slow down there. Because you would have taken like James Madison, who got in, and then moved them back. So this is how it would have been reseeded. My apologies. I went too fast. 11 Notre Dame, 12 BYU would have been different. than last year. Everything else with the top 10 would have been the same. Let me ask you the question. Comparing the 12 team we had last year versus what it would have been with 24. Any of those teams being added in, do you think make the playoff better? The weird part is the answer, of course it does, because the G5s don't add much unless you believe in the underdog story. And adding Notre Dame and BYU's 11 and 12 was better than James Madison and, oh my God, my brain's cramping, the other G5, because 2 got in because the ACC champ was so awful. But you couldn't do that, so that's not even fair of me. That's kind of cheat code type stuff. A better question, I guess, would be, of those first round games, is there even one of them that you sit there and go, I need to order the pizza, have a 6-pack on ice, okay, a case on ice. But all of those, like, what's the tune-in game? I guess G-Tech at Notre Dame would have that one. I mean, that's a tune-in game. But Virginia at Vanderbilt, no. Michigan at Utah, paint's drying. Zona at USC, okay. Registers for me. Madison at Bama, no. Iowa at Miami, no. That's 9-6, all field goals. Houston at BYU, you know it's the Cougars. Okay, see, I'm going to be, yeah. Tulane at Texas, oh no. So we added 8 opening round games, and 3 would hit for me. But that's going to be every year. Now, the fun part for me, you know, I'm a conspiracy theorist of the highest order. That's not how the committee would seat them. There's got to be storylines, and we'd have to figure out the storylines. And I'm telling you right now, they would have done whatever they had to do. A&M would not have faced Miami in the second round because, you know, 7-10, Miami beats Iowa, and it's A&M. Miami would just be a second round matchup. No chance that would have happened. If you don't think it would have been A&M, Texas, Kyle Field in the second round of the playoff, I got like a mansion in the swamps, Louisiana to sell you. Because I think that's, talk about done deal. I think that's pretty much a fact, right? You know the committee would have set up A&M, Texas, college football playoff second round. And it would have been the highest watched college football playoff game ever, probably. And it wouldn't have mattered if they played that Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or Friday. But yeah, just looking at what the field could have been, would have been, that's a better way of saying. Yeah, you'd have bumped out from the 11-12. They would have added Notre Dame and BYU, but they would have played in the first round and things like that. I'd watch 3 of the 8. Be kind of mildly interested. Can't say fired up levels here on fire. But they would have switched some of that up to create the second round matchups that would have drawn interest. Because storylines are what committees do versus trying to create the most balanced postseason possible and, you know, protecting what the top 8 earned. We're going to get the 24. Please don't doubt that. The expansion of the field to 76 should show you. And Cedric and I talked about it yesterday. Cedric Golden of Boston American Statesman. But these decisions, not about what's best for the fans, the schools, the players, or anyone. It is the reality that TV streaming rights fees, postseason gets the highest value, increases the value, and everything's expensive. Like for you and me in the world we live in, it's no different for college athletics. And it's what will generate the most money. And it's needed because private equity firm, Big 12, took the money, first conference to do it. Everything's for sale, patches, field names, everything. Schools are desperate for money because it's expensive to compete now. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just the reality of it. So more postseason games, more money from your rights fees partners. And again, that's if you weren't with us in hour 1, the expansion to 76 is $50 million a year, $300 million over the 6 years left of the deal. That's why they do expand to 76. We'll grab a timeout. Please do not forget, texting could win you a family 4-pack to Moody Gardens. Everyone that texts gets registered. It's just part of what we're doing all Louie Bellina show long on a Friday here on The Zone.
Texas A&M's home for champions with March Madness, the Super Bowl, and the College World Series. The Zone. 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Louie Bellina show inside the Charles Schwab studio in uncertain times. And we're talking about financial, your future now, your future and your now. That's Charles Schwab. Mark Sim. In uncertain times, Charles Schwab remains invested in their clients by offering personalized guidance and clarity. You can contact Mark Sim. That's personal. He's right here in College Station. You can walk into the office, sit down, shake a hand, look him in the eye. Personalized. Mark Sim. Get answers to your questions. Learn more at schwab.com/College Station. Text messages are rolling in. Continue to text, but continue the listen, because I got to listen in for you. Greg McElroy, Always College Football Podcast. We've already heard him rank the top 10 quarterbacks for the 2026 season. Well, it's time to listen into the top 10 wide receivers.
Now let's get into the top 10, and we will start at number 10 with Jordan Faison, Notre Dame wide receiver. Now, he was their leading receiver last year, former walk-on, a guy that was also a terrific midfielder for one of the top lacrosse teams in the country. Now, what's interesting about Faison's career is that for most of his entire career, the spring was dedicated exclusively to lacrosse. Well, this year, a little different. I went to a Notre Dame lacrosse game just a couple weeks ago, and there was no Faison. Well, his brother was on the roster. Jordan Faison noticeably missing from the Notre Dame lacrosse team. He chose to focus on football. And if you look at the accomplishments last year, the numbers won't jump off the page. Just 49 catches for 640 and 4 touchdowns. But if you look at how good he was in making guys miss, that was pretty impressive. And if you look at how many snaps per game he got, that was also impressive. He went for over 45 snaps a game. That was very, very good. Here's what makes 2026 different. One, he's focusing exclusively on football in the offseason. And Notre Dame lost 4 of their top 5 pass catchers. So that's all going to kind of take care of itself, which means the target share of a college football playoff program could potentially flow through Jordan Faison and a completely rebuilt cast. Now, I really like the personnel outside of Faison as well. I also love the connection that gets created with a returning starting quarterback in CJ Carr, who's heading into his second year as a starting quarterback with more experience and a deeper understanding of what Faison can do when you get him the ball in space. If you listen to the offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock, he says probably going to expand Faison's role this year. Maybe more motion, more targets, more things on the move, more opportunity to make things happen after the catch. And like I said, there's going to be attention that's paid to Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter, some of the other guys that have been added to that wide receiver room, which means Faison won't be necessarily logging 60-snap games week in and week out. He might be more rested. He might be more featured. And more specifically, he's going to create opportunities with the ball in his hands. It wouldn't shock me if he flirts with 900 yards. Wouldn't shock me if he flirts with 800 yards. He's a threat on every single snap to take the distance. That's why he comes in at number 10. So Faison and his brother potentially creating a bit of a Faison pipeline there in South Bend, Indiana. At number 9, Charlie Becker from Indiana. Now, Indiana won the national championship last January. And the player that might have been the most unlikely contributor on that run was an under-recruited 3-star recruit from Nashville, Tennessee, who started the season as a special teams player. And in the first 7 games, he had 4 catches. And here he comes. Indiana starter Elijah Surratt gets hurt. He went on and got back. He goes down with a hamstring injury. In comes Charlie Becker. Didn't skip a beat. And in that performance against Penn State in late October, Becker gets his first start, has 7 catches for 118, never gives the job back. He says, I'm going to force my way into the lineup whether you like it or not. And at that point forward, he went on an absolute tear. From the Penn State game all the way through the national championship, he had just 26 catches, but those 26 catches went for over 540 yards. He also secured the game in the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State on a 51-yard touchdown or a 51-yard reception. He had a 33-yard catch down the sideline in the fourth quarter that allowed them to ice the clock as well. And the national championship game had that touchdown down the right sideline. So if you look at it in totality, the final stat line was not overwhelming. What was it? 34 for 679 or so. But the average yards per reception, nearly 20. Pretty dang impressive. That was the highest mark in the Big Ten. And I think if you look at where he is now as a junior, returning to a defending national champion, with Cooper gone, with Surratt gone, his target share is going to go up tremendously. And I really like Josh Hoover and the connection that they might be able to create, knowing that Becker is a deep threat on every single snap. So I think his potential and his ceiling could go up tremendously this year in Bloomington. At number 8, it's Cam Coleman, formerly of Auburn, now of the Texas Longhorns. Now let's kind of contextualize Cam Coleman's production at Auburn for just a little while, right? Because if you look at Auburn in 2025, their passing offense and the time that Cam Coleman's been there, 2 years ago, it wasn't bad. But last year, it was triple digits. It was 111th or 110th or so as far as passing production. That's not just below average. That's among the worst in Power 4 football. So this is a passing game that was not great, right? But Coleman still found a way in the last couple of years to be pretty productive. If you look at what he was as a true freshman, he had 37 for 598. Last year, he caught 56 for 708. So combined, he's got 93 career catches. He's got a 1,300-yard accumulation total to his name and 13 touchdowns with quarterbacks that were very much up and down. Now he's in a system at Texas where they're going to feature him. He's now going to play with Arch Manning. He's going to play in Steve Sarkisian's system. And to think about this Manning to Coleman connection that's kind of been building all spring, even though Manning has not been fully available as he works back from a foot injury, you got to be pretty impressed with what could happen for Cam Coleman now that he has a really capable quarterback that will be targeting him on every single opportunity, especially in the red zone. If you already hear about what Arch Manning's saying about Coleman, he's saying he's an elite player. He wants to be great, which is the most encouraging thing. He's a hard worker. I'm excited. And you also are kind of hearing too about Ryan Wingo. Might hear his name here in just a moment. These two guys together, I think Steve Sarkisian's going to know how to kind of tilt coverage towards one to find opportunities for the other. That's pretty helpful. This offense, this chemistry, this quarterback, this system. Coleman could be the number 1 wide receiver in Austin this year. Right now, he's currently 8th on the list, but the gap between him and number 7 is razor thin. We're not exactly sure who's going to be 7 and who's going to be 8, which takes me to my number 7 wide receiver this season, and that's Ryan Wingo, also of the Texas Longhorns. And if you listen to Steve Sarkisian, and I want to repeat it because he is right, and he was saying a lot of people have kind of forgotten about Ryan Wingo. The guy was second team all SEC last year. He had over 850 yards last year, and that kind of just flew onto the radar, especially once things got going for him in the middle part of the season. And when Arch Manning started to play really well, that's when his production went crazy. Then Steve Sarkisian went on to compare him to an Xavier Worthy type of player. If you look at Worthy's sophomore year at Texas, had about 700 yards. Well, look at what Wingo did, 54 for 834 and 7 touchdowns as a sophomore last year. And he led Texas in almost every major receiving category. Now Cam Coleman arrives, and suddenly all the talk is about Cam Coleman, understandably so. He's physically very impressive. Don't sleep on Wingo. He is actually the more productive of the two. The guy earned all SEC accolades last year. And if you look at what he did against Mississippi State, where he had 5 for 184, that goes to show you what he's capable of. In the final 6-game stretch that he went on, I mean, when Manning was playing his best football, 514 and 3 touchdowns in the final 6 games of the year. Now, he did have an off-season wrist injury, but has been a little bit restricted in some non-contact spring work. But no one's really that worried about it as far as his availability and what he could be this fall. So I also think that right now, both Coleman and Wingo, they're 7 and 8, all this other stuff, but they kind of help each other here. Every defensive coordinator is going to be trying to apply extra resources to one, which is going to open up opportunities for the other. And if they look at Coleman, fine, Wingo will get single coverage. You want to double Wingo? Fine, Coleman will get single coverage. That is a really intriguing opportunity for this offense to know that they have guys that can balance out the formation. So if Steve Sarkisian's right, and the world really has forgotten about Ryan Wingo, We will find out and be reminded quickly and in a significant way starting in September. That's why he comes in at number 7. At number 6, it's KJ Duff from Rutgers. Now, this name is going to surprise some people. That's good, because if KJ Duff played at Ohio State or at Texas, we would have done an entire episode about him 3 weeks ago. Well, he plays at Rutgers. So a lot of the national media isn't fully aware of what this young man is capable of. But the word is starting to get out, because if you look at the production last year, went for over 1,000 yards, caught 60 balls, had 7 touchdowns, had over 18 yards per catch. That was the second amongst all Big Ten wide receivers. He had 22 contested catches, which were tied for the most in the entire country. That's right, in the entire country, not just in the Big Ten, the most in all of college football. So he's a guy that will go up and just take the ball away from defensive backs who are draped all over him. That's a different trait than just being open. Now consider this trajectory. His freshman year, he had 27 for 425. Sophomore year, he had 60 catches for 1084. So he more than doubled his production in just 1 year. Now he's going in as a junior, returns as the unquestioned number 1 option for a Rutgers offense that is going to be built kind of around him. Now, the knock on the Rutgers quarterback situation is fair. The counter is that he produced 18 yards per catch last year with Ethan Kaliakmanis, who was fine. But I think they're going to be just fine at wide receiver. I think KJ Duff is the reason why. This is one of the best wide receivers in the country, and it would not surprise me at all if this guy gets a lot of looks, a lot of targets, and is well over 1,000 yards this year. And meanwhile, nobody outside of New Jersey is going to be able to pretend like they saw it coming, but we did right here on Always College Football.
That is part 1 of our listen in. Top 10 wide receivers for the 2026 college football season. We're listening in Greg McElroy from his podcast. That's the first 5. When we return, the top 5 wide receivers for the upcoming college football season. A reminder, texting could win you a family 4-pack to Moody Gardens. I got like 5 of them to give away. Kind of like a bonus Friday. The ticket booth is open thanks to Dixie Tire Company. You've got 29 minutes left to get yourself entered. We're just going to blind draw at 1 o'clock. Text 979-693-1150. You can light up the Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox. Give yourself a chance. Text now. You got 29 minutes, so you can wait, but you might forget, and that would be bad. It's the Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric, Friday on The Zone.
Make sure to get the podcast of TexAgs Live, the Louie Bellina Show, or Chip Howard Sports Talk Daily at zone1150.com and everywhere you get your podcasts.
The Louie Bellina Show. As we head out the door, I wanted to share this. I saw this story. It's volleyball, college volleyball. On August 27th at AT&T Stadium, 4 of the premier women's college volleyball programs. And I saw that and I go, well, isn't Aggie volleyball? They're the national champs. And if you want to use the word premier, to me, that's as premier as the world's going to get. But 4 of the premier programs are going to meet. And again, August 27th at AT&T Stadium. And it's an exhibition. Very fascinating. This exhibition is called Spikes Under the Lights. And the way it's going to work is the 4 teams will play each other. They haven't announced who plays who. The 4 teams play each other, semifinals. The 2 will meet in a championship game. And it's all best of 3 format. 100,000 seat Jerry World. And it's an exhibition. These games do not count towards the regular season records. Best of 3. Normal, it's best of 5. And it's an exhibition. It is an NIL showcase for college volleyball. Nebraska, Penn State, Florida, and SMU are the 4 teams that will participate. So it's a $1 million NIL prize purse. $800,000 will be split among the 4 programs, and the other $200K goes to the championship participants. So guaranteed money just for showing up, bonus money for winning. And all the money is going to be split among the players, the athletes, as NIL payments. It's a Thursday night, and it takes place after the AVCA first serve. SMU is playing in both, by the way, if you're wondering. They're playing in Milwaukee as one of the 10 teams there for the AFCA first serve, which I believe, kicks off the softball season. Not 100%. I'm not a softball. Volleyball expert, so don't quote me. But so SMU's playing in both. So Thursday night, August 27th, down at Jerry World, an exhibition for, I think Nebraska, Penn State, Florida, they list their credentials. So blue bloody, at least current, I don't know, but of the premier women's college volleyball programs will compete in an exhibition. Semifinals, 2 winners championship, best of threes, $1 million all NIL money, $800K to be split by the 4, $200K for the winners kind of thing. Sounds awesome. I'm not a volleyball person. I want to know if the volleyball world's abuzz, if this is the kind of thing that will draw eyeballs, whether it's seats in the butt or on TV, because broadcast details will be revealed later. Events being run by GSE Worldwide and Full Day Productions. And I partner it with Duke announcing they've sold 3 of their non-cons, but it's the 3 premier at Madison Square in Detroit, UConn, Michigan matchup, and Gonzaga. And I love the creativity being involved with athletic programs trying to raise money for NIL and pay for itself. I mentioned before, Aggie Athletics bringing in the Bananas, 2 World Cup exhibition soccer matches, George Strait. There is some great being done, I feel like, in order to help pay the bills. And the fans are getting rewarded. And I feel like this kind of thing ties into it greatly. I see that I kind of get pumped up. I got to go. We're out of time. Don't forget, you have till 1 to text and get registered for a chance to win a family 4-pack to Moody Gardens. 979-693-1150. We're going to blind draw at 1 o'clock. Text 979-693-1150. I might not be here because I got to say goodbye in 5 seconds. But you could still text at 1 o'clock. Have an amazing weekend, everybody. Peace.
The flagship station for Aggie Athletics is The Zone. Whenever the Aggies are playing, you can hear them right here at 1150 and 93.7. Thanks to our Aggie broadcast sponsors who make it happen. The Sleep Station, Aggie-owned, Aggie-operated, and a proud Texas company. Zwerneman Flooring, service, selection, style, and Rebel Draft House in the Northgate District. Listen to the games on The Zone 1150 and 93.7 FM.